Thought-provoking phone calls came in now and then when I was a scrappy. A local mum rang up to request I collected a VW Golf Mark II from the patch of verge on a country lane locally. There was no tax test or insurance on the car, and it had been her son's, a lad I knew from school. He was part of a crew of three airy fellas who were mainly spending their time lurking in a caravan way out in the sticks parked up on one of the bloke's parents' cottage garden. Devoted fans of thrash and death metal. They had a band of sorts. Evenings were spent on jamming, listening to Napalm Death or Slayer, and partaking in copious amounts of tabs. Prolonged exposure to this level of abuse had led her son James, the bassist in their group Billy Bunter and the Sewer Scum, to slip into a deep paranoid psychosis, take off in the old Golf, and with various old lorry tarps and a tent as well, set up a camp. Eventually, the coppers had been alerted to his bizarre activities, arrested and then sectioned him. His mum, being the car's registered keeper, was then tasked with disposing of the car. I arrived in the Ford cargo recovery truck one bright March morning in 2003. After surveying the strange situation and being careful not to get pricked by discarded needles, I left the lorry up on the junction and started slowly dismantling the camp. The car, of course, was an integral part of this. Luckily, the Gold Golf's doors were open, so I could stash everything inside it, but with no keys and the steering locked over hard left, this was a drag-on kicking and screaming type job. Tight rural lanes are notorious when you're trying to recover something. One vehicle per half hour until the very moment you slew the lorry across the road, get the bed down and couple up. Then suddenly it's Spaghetti Junction. Within 5 minutes, I had the local farmer with his trailer, the postman, two coppers checking to see if the car had been shifted, and some irate old bag wanting to walk past with the horse he was training. Of course, the VW was being a right bastard, trying to miss the lorry's bed and requiring dragging sideways, which involved a re-rig to complete. Eventually, it was on board, tied down, and the various passing knobheads sent on their way. Dripping with sweat by then, I was glad to get back home to the yard. I didn't see or hear about James for probably a decade or so after that. And suddenly he turned up in the yard one afternoon with his now missus and kids. He was after parts, and he kept telling me he was all cleaned up and going straight these days. Just a quick pause to proceedings to say please subscribe to the channel. Click the red button, or whatever colour button it is, I'm not sure, and the notification bell. It really is appreciated. Back to the action. The other two lads from the bands were not quite as fortunate as James, one of whom I see periodically in the local chemist, having to get his methadone dose. The other lad ended up getting killed in a car accident some many years ago now. A somewhat shocking call I got was from a guy that wanted a burned-out Mark II Ford Mondeo removed from British Camp car park. The man's voice wavered as he tried to explain that his son, who had recently split up with his long-term girlfriend, had stolen his father's car, took a cocktail of drink and drugs, and then sat in the driver's seat after setting the car's interior alight. In its very last seconds, he managed to dive clear, suffering minor burns, but nothing fatal. I wandered up there with the old Ford Cargo and pulled the burnt-out shell on. The alloy wheels had melted, and so had a lot of the asphalt underneath where the car, because it had gotten so hot. I hate dealing with burnt-out cars. It's just such a mess, and work that's involved. Plus, you take a high risk from all the lethal type dust that comes off the burnt wiring looms, etc. There are a lot of other unpleasant recovery jobs that came in over the years, and a lot of which were better forgotten about, some being fatalities. Thankfully, these were largely outnumbered by funny or just run-of-the-mill call-outs. It all made up the life of being a scrappy and a recovery operative. Hello there. Thank you for watching my video. If you've enjoyed this one, would like to see a few more, please like, share and subscribe. Also, buy something from the merchandise shop, the details for which I'll put on the screen now. All the best to you. Take care till the next time.